Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, Grown Womanish with Nick. I'm so glad that you came back. Thank you for tuning back in. Thank you for hitting play on the video and checking your girl out and seeing what I'm all about, okay? I hope that you guys have been well. How's your year been going so far? Have you been keeping up with the promises or resolutions, as people say, that you made in the beginning? Well, I know that it can be kind of hard to stay consistent because I've been struggling too. Okay, like, I'll just be 100%. I said I was gonna come on and do a video every week for every since the year began, and I've missed 1 week, but I'm back for the second week. So I already, you can see the human part kind of catches up and life kind of gets in the way, but I encourage you not to give up, right? Don't give up just because you mess up. Guess what? Every day is a new day to start again, so you can start again, right? That's what the morning is for, right? So, just make sure that you're not giving up. I know for me, I've had 2 blunders. So one of them has been I missed a week on taping my YouTube channel, and the second one is staying away from alcohol. Now, I said as the year began, I was going to kind of go raw for a bit, and I did good with that. I went for like a good week, and then it, kind of started getting sketchy. Once I have to travel, it's so hard to kind of stick with that when you're on the road. And then the second one was not drinking, and I did really good up until last weekend when I went away for my friend's birthday, and I had every intention to not drink. I even had a little date last week, and I didn't drink on the date either. But we won't get into the date yet, okay? We just gonna skip over that. That night was kind of crazy because I ran over a raccoon. Yeah, I wish I could insert a raccoon right now because it was wild. But I survived. I didn't spin out of control on the highway. It was kind of wild how that happened. But needless to say, I have fall off on 2 of the agreements that I made for myself for this year, but I'm still not discouraged. I'm getting back over on that horse. That's why I'm here with you today for another video. Now, what I have been, so sometimes we focus on the things that we're not doing, so I'm gonna kind of reverse that and focus on the things that I am doing. So have been working out 4 times a week. That has been what I said I was going to do, and I'm keeping to that. I've also been reading. I told myself that I was going to be reading at least 3 to 4 times a week for at least 15 minutes, and I've been superseding 15 minutes because I'm reading a really, really awesome book that one of my friends recommended. It's called The Slight Edge, and if you haven't heard of it, get it. It's really helping me to shift your mind as to progressing towards your goals. Sometimes we just look at it we want to wait for that one big thing that's going to make everything else pop, but realistically, it's more about doing small things that equal up to that big thing, right? So I love that book. I'm in chapter 5, and I'm reading it with 2 friends, and it's been helping me greatly. These last 2 weeks have been a bit of a challenge. I think just dealing with shifts, right? We talked about that in the last video, as the year closes and you're starting into something new, or you're entering into a new year, you're thinking about all the things you want to get away from, or things you want to cut off, things you want to change, habits you want to improve upon, and then to build up new habits, to build up new strengths in certain areas of your life. And for me, I was challenged, like I said, over the last 2 weeks with letting go of something that I kind of held dear to me, and that's in friendship. And I think that's something that a lot of people can resonate with, right? As you grow as a person, sometimes the friendships that you have, or the relationships even that you have, let's not say friendships, it could be a romantic relationship, it could be a partnership, it can be a friendship. Those things start to shift as you change, right? And when you meet people in certain times of your life, you might be in a certain mindset during that period. And then as you start to evolve, learn more about yourself, as you start to deal with some of those wounds, some of those traumas, and you start to see yourself in a new way, those relationships sometimes don't survive that change, because maybe the place that you were at when you started that friendship or relationship or partnership, you were in one mindset, and now you're in something different, and the things that you wanted in that friendship or wanted in that relationship were one thing then, and now it's something different. And sometimes you have to be the person to cut it, right? And that's hard, especially when it's been time or years or energy that you've invested in something. Even when it's, you know, it's not the best thing for you anymore or doesn't serve you, it can still be, you know, on a cognitive level, you get it, right? Like, yes, it doesn't make sense. 1 + 1 is not equaling 2. I need to cut this, right? But on an emotional level, in a carnal sense, you know, it can be a bit more difficult, right? Because we are, you know, emotional people as well. So we form bonds and connections to people that are sometimes hard to cut. And I think that it's even harder when the people aren't bad people, right? Like, your friend isn't a bad person, or that person you were in a relationship isn't a bad person, or that person you had a partnership with is not a bad person or doing business with, but it's just not aligning with where you are in your life anymore, and it's just time to make that shift. And you know, I think that it comes down to more so than just looking at what that person's not giving you, but really identifying who you are in this moment, right? And being okay with the changes that you've made, and recognizing that you deserve more. You know, sometimes that's just what it is. I'm an empath, you know, someone who's very in tune with with myself emotionally. I'm very intuitive. I feel people's energy. You know, I can feel it right when I walk in a room. Have very good intuition, so I can gauge people's personalities just by some of the things that they do. That's just something I've always been with myself. And if you're an empath, someone who's watching is an empath, then you know how hard it is to not always give of yourself, right? Like, if you're an empath, you're a natural giver. You're a natural person who wants to help other people. You want to see people excel. You want to support people, you know, in your life, and people that you love even more, right? So I think that when you're like that, it's so automatic to always pour. But what you don't recognize is that sometimes when you're doing all the pouring, your cup is maybe not getting poured back into by some of these same very people that you love and care for, right? So at some point, you know, everything in life is not tit for tat, right? So everything's not always going to be 50-50 in your relationships that you have, right? Some days you're going to give 100 and that person may give 0 because they were going through something. Sometimes it's going to be 50-50. Sometimes it'll be 80-20, but it's never always 50-50. I think where the issues kind of come in is when you find yourself always being the one that's giving more, and you're not getting enough back in the ways that you need it. And I think that that's also something to talk about, right? Like, to mention that sometimes you may pour in one way and that person may be pouring back, but not in the way that you need it. So you don't receive it that way. So it still is not filling your cup because they're giving it to you the way they know how to give it, but not the way that you need it. And, you know, sometimes you're able to have those conversations and come to a place of agreement where, you know, that person who really cares about you, they want to meet you. They want to be able to fill those needs that you have. They want to be able to support you in those ways that you've supported them. But then there's other times where, you know, people can be really good people, but they're just not equipped. They're just not, they don't have the capacity to give you in the way that you need it. And that's where it gets really hard. It gets a little tough to separate yourself, right? To no longer keep pouring in that pot. So I think that that's something, so to put it all in a nutshell, that's something I've been dealing with these last 2 weeks. And I'll admit that it was a bit triggering. I think sometimes you don't realize when you're trying to, until you're trying to remove something, the triggers or the relation that it has to something in your past. And for me, it was a realization that I have always been someone who gave too much, gave to a fault. And in the years, I'm 44, right? Oh, no, I'm not 44 yet. I'm turning 44. I'm 44 this year, but I'm 43. And I would say about 38, 39, right before my 40th birthday, I started recognizing my patterns, started kind of going inward, doing more meditation and such. And I started making cuts in my life with friendships and just kind of compartmentalizing people in the areas that they needed to be, because I no longer felt the need to always be all things for all people anymore, right? If you're resonating, I know you're probably like, yep. Everyone comes to that point, and if you haven't got there, you will. You know, everyone has their breaking point, you know, their internal breaking point where they're like, you know what, I can't. And after I made those shifts and kind of like put everyone in their compartments, I kind of went inward, like really inward. So while I was still kind of talking to, you know, going out and doing things, I kind of became a recluse into, you know, how often I would be having conversations with people, you know, looking at the phone and I'm not answering that person. Nope, I don't have the space for them anymore, because every time I pick up the phone, I know it's always going to be, you know, focused on what they've got going on. They're not going to ask or really take a great interest into what's going on with me. So I cut all of that out, right? But what I didn't realize was that after I gotten past that sometimes there were still some relationships that I had established when I was that other person, when I didn't have boundaries. And now that I have evolved into this new person, my requirements of those people who were still kind of hanging on are different. And what's crazy is that they are still themselves, right? They haven't changed. They're being who they are, being true to whom they are, but it doesn't align anymore with who I am now. And while I love them and I care about them, I can't abandon myself. You know, I can't abandon what I need from any relationship, down to my children, you know, and that's important too. That's a topic for another day, you know. So, you know, I just wanted to come on today and just kind of chat with you, just because I was like, I know I'm not the only one who goes through those shifts, right? Like when you care about people and you want the best for them, but you're just not getting back enough. And I want to just encourage you to know that, like, it's okay to let go. And it doesn't always have to be a combative, like, forget you, bleep, bleep, you know, you ain't, da, 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 da. It doesn't have to be all of that, right? Like, it can just be, I'm releasing you with love, right? And even if you don't say that, you can just walk away knowing you gave it all you had, and that other person gave it all they had too. You know, like, in all honesty, they might have gave it all they had, and that's all right. And you can still walk away and be okay with the fact that it's just something that no longer aligns with you, and move on and move on. And today, like I said, I've been battling that this week, and it kind of brought up some triggers that I've had, like I said, in my past, about overgiving and not feeling supported by people I was giving to in my life. But today was the day that it was over. Like, in my mind, it was over. It's been over for a few weeks, but I let it go today, and it was amazing because today, if you follow astrology, I do, and I still love the Lord, so, you know, don't get it twisted. But if you follow astrology, today is a new moon in Aquarius, and this moon is all about releasing and you know, starting anew and moving in things that are more in alignment with where you're at, right? And you know, being uninhibited in the sense of, like, being free of anything that does not serve you, you know what I mean? And just moving in spaces that have a space for you, you know, so being, you know, allowing yourself to be as expansive as you want and not having to shrink yourself in anything, in any space. And today I was like, you know what? I've been having an aversion to my meditation practice. I don't know. I think that it has to do with more like, you know, when you sit down and really meditate and really are asking God to reveal things to you, you got to be ready for what He's about to tell you. I'm telling you right now, like, He gonna, listen, He will reveal some things to you that now you're forced to do something. Now you got to charge. You're charged with making those changes, acknowledging the things that He's shown you and doing something about it. And I think that for me, the aversion with meditating, and I love meditating, I always feel so much better after I'm doing it, but it's been a minute. And I think that it's because I was wrestling with knowing what I needed to do and actually doing it. And I knew once I sat down on that I say go to mat. I call it going to mat. If once I know I go to mat and I'm faced with whatever I ask to be revealed to me, or whatever you know, deeper understanding I'm asking for, whatever revelation I'm asking for, it's going to be revealed. And then I'm charged with having to move in that space. And I think that I was just hanging on. And it didn't do me any good, you know. So I sat down today under the new moon and I meditated, and I asked, you know, my maker to just show me, like, help me. And I cried out, and I asked for release, you know. And then I also, like I said, I'm intuitive, and I feel like I have many gifts that God's given me. So I pulled a couple of my oracle cards, and if you're not into that, no big deal, right? Like, but I pulled a couple of oracle cards, and when I tell you, they were on point. Like every single, first off, 2 cards fell out, all right? 2 cards fell out, and I put them to the side because something in my story said, no, those 2 fell out. Put them to the side. Go ahead and pull 2. And the 2 that I pulled, those were the ones that I read first. And it was about releasing. It was about crumbling, old constraints, old ties, old habits, old connections. It was about crumbling, letting all the old things die, whether it was relationships, jobs, mindsets. It said, let it go, crumble it, and build again, right? And that's something that's so hard. We be wanting to hold on to things so bad. And that I needed that, right? And then the next one was about, you know, just changing your mindset, like letting go of things that you've been holding on to in your mind, right? So those 2 were right on point. And then it gave me the things that I'm working toward, which was alignment. And the other one was following your path. And those are the things that I'm doing right now. So like, if this is your first time on my channel, I recently left the classroom last year. So this is a whole new world for me outside of having a salary job. I'm working for myself, and I'm building up my life coaching business, my holistic life coaching business. And it's just a new world of navigating, like, myself in a new way, trusting myself, trusting God, understanding that, like, I have not worked a full-time schedule since July of last year, and all of my bills have been paid. I have food in my refrigerator. I've not missed a car note payment. Like, those are the things where it's like, yeah, I want to have excess, right? So I can do more of the things that I love, like giving back to the community and being able to travel, which is one of my loves. And I'm considering downsizing but all of those things are like, your needs are being met. God is still providing. And don't worry so much about the minor details to getting to the big picture. Just keep walking, just keep walking. So, you know, like, I was grateful for the confirmation that I got today when I was reading the cards that I got, because it just reminded me to just keep going. And if you're someone who's watching and you're in this transitionary period of your life, and we go through many, right? We go through many different seasons of, I call it pruning, you know, and then rebirth. So if this is one of your seasons, for your pruning season, don't worry. I promise you, God is going to bring you out. Journal, write down the things that are going on. Write down the feelings that you're feeling. It's so important, because when you're out of this, you're going to look back and you're going to need this. You're going to need those little lessons to bless somebody else, right? Sometimes the things we go through, the journeys we go through, the trials we go through, they're not for us. They're really for someone else. So, you know, just write this, document this time, because baby, when you're on the other side of this, it's going to be so amazing to look back and really see how far God got you from. And also, it's going to be important to document how you tarried through this period? Like, how did you handle these moments? And every day is not gonna be a bowl of sunshine. Trust me, I can tell you. Okay, some days it's really like, what am I doing? I have no idea. But that's the part of surrender, right? Like, you can't get more with you holding on to what you got. You gotta release it. You gotta open your hands and then wait for something to come to you, right? You don't want to be always trying to grab and fight for life. You want life to come to you and give you what you're deserving of. So anywho, I ain't gonna hold y'all. I hope that you guys are doing well. Keep on keeping on. If it's about letting go of some folks, listen, it's okay. It's a natural progression of life to let go. You will get more than what you lost. I can guarantee you that. Okay? Sometimes what you lose, you needed to lose. And honestly, in reality, sometimes what you're losing is not a loss. I mean, if you really break it down, if you start writing the pros and the cons and something, you're like, dang, what was I getting from that? It be real now when you start putting pencil to the paper, start really trying to see what you were gaining out of a situation, you'll realize you didn't really lose much at all, except maybe your self-worth, and you don't want to do that. Don't ever forfeit yourself for anything in life, not for any person, not for any job, not for any place. Don't ever, ever, ever abandon yourself. Don't ever, ever betray yourself to keep anything, because whatever's meant for you will not have you sacrifice who you are, unless it's in a space of growth, right? But never in a space of lack. So I just hope that y'all are, like I said, pushing through this year. I can't believe it's already the 21st. We're almost in February. And I will see y'all next time. I promise I will be on next week. I don't travel again until next month, but I'm going to keep my word, all right? So y'all have a blessed one. I hope that y'all are well. Take care. Bye.